Angels of Zadkiel and Amethyst, form now the mighty Maltese cross of my heart. Angels of light, let it be the sign of this dispensation of violet flame. Let it appear at the nexus of the figure 8 in each one's being, and thereby be the focus of precipitation of the amethyst jewel. I choose to honor Lord Zadkiel as ancient teacher of alchemists, who has taught all of us in our many embodiments in the pursuit of the sacred science, the true love of God that is the foundation of all of the uses of the light and energy and coordinates of molecules of matter. How well I remember my own initiations in the retreat of Lord Zadkiel. What seems long, long ago may be a point of beginning for you. If you can realize that once there was a day when I, your own Saint Germain, took my first step as an alchemist on the sacred path of the seventh ray, you may also consider that it is never too late to begin, and the point of the beginning is the point when you begin to win, point by point, measure for measure, those blades of grass that become a star. I salute the 7 archangels. I salute the golden age. I salute all visionaries, east and west, who have the sense of self-worth that they are indeed blessed as forerunners of a new age, a new life, who have enough sense of self-worth to be stronger than those deterrents, those downward spirals in society that always mock a new burst of freedom, that mock that which the children of the light most cherish, joy itself in creativity. What a shame that joy has gone out of the universities of the world and been replaced by the sullenness of academia, which, beloved hearts, somehow has lost all of the point of being, which is, after all, the holiness of science itself. A holy fire, holy elements, holy servants who always attend the true scientist of the spirit, elementals who assist in the laboratories of the spirit, the holiness of attending angels, the holiness of the sacred formula, first held in the hand, assimilated in the heart, bursting as the vastness of the mind of God, endowing experiment with the horizons of eternity. Let the universities of the Spirit now descend by degrees, certain degrees, ordained in this hour by Sanat Kumara. The descent of universities of the Spirit closer to the outer institutions of learning will have an effect similar to that new burst of freedom announced by Zadkiel. The pressing down of the true matrix upon a matrix that is no longer true results in the pressing out of the worst elements, which you have already seen for more than a decade as the deterioration of the presence of the true spirit of learning in the colleges of America, correspondingly less attended because souls of light seek the spirit, seek what they remember at inner levels, attending universities of the spirit in the etheric octave. You know that Summit University was founded to be the open door for the descent of one such university and of the mystery school of Lord Maitreya. And so it is becoming more and more the outpicturing of the inner university of the Ascended Masters. It cannot be any more than that which is contained in the hearts of those who make up the stones building the university itself. What is a university, after all, but a collection of hearts dedicated to the science of learning in all of the paths of the seven rays, and in this one, the paths of the secret rays of the mysteries of the Holy Grail, incarnating the Word. My beloved, then, if there are stones missing or wavelengths that are notable by their absence in Summit University, it merely requires a dedicated heart upon the altar of Lord Maitreya and Lord Gautama to fill in that position corresponding to the position on the etheric plane of that which you well know from your inner experiences. See how dispensations are subject to free will. The grid and blueprint of the completion of this university has been here from its inception. Let us then set ourselves to the task of setting our hearts as coordinates, magnets which we attach and fasten to the blueprint, even as you attach Christmas lights and balls to a tree. Let your heart be at a point of necessity. Let it be placed there. Let us resume our meditation on the creation of the cloud of infinite energy, and let us dedicate it in this new year to the precipitation of that university of the Spirit that will draw and magnetize those souls of light who have in their hearts and causal bodies and in their earnest desire truly the will to see something magnificent happen in education upon earth in this decade. There are many fine souls of light upon earth who see the crumbling of education and therefore wonder where is this civilization about to appear and what will happen to the current generation. We of the Great White Brotherhood are obviously concerned, and you ought to be also, for the continuity of your sacred purpose will one day rest entirely in the heart of your successor. And that one who comes after you, lacking in the true education and disciplines, both physical and spiritual, may not contain that which is necessary to carry your mantle, to wear it well. Thus, from the ascended octaves, you may see what a tragedy that you did not direct your attention to the raising up of this generation in the science of the spirit and the disciplines of true culture. For you will observe how limited you are, because souls upon earth simply do not have basic skills, fundamental principles, whether on the path of spirit or matter. Take, for instance, my own desire to transmit to life teachings most essential on the path of initiation through the Shakespearean plays. Why, with a population that scarcely knows the drama or the story of one play, how can I remind them by impressing upon the memory of the mind the tragedies, the comedies of life, and the errors themselves that can be eliminated when one does not make too much of it, when one does not place too much self-importance upon the not-self. Precious hearts, there was an era when the study of Shakespeare was far more widespread. Now it is left to those who go on to college and concentrate in English literature and in such disciplines. Thus, there is lost to me a means of instruction. It would be well even if the little children would learn the plays from the standpoint of the stories in language that they can understand. But as always, going back to the original work, you will find not only keys to my own identity, but, beloved hearts, the very keys and alchemy to the lowering into manifestation of my own Guru, the great divine director's causal body. And that causal body contains indeed the keys to the new order of the ages. The new Atlantis rising is rising, and because it rises, there is a requirement of alchemy, of transmutation, as well as the tuning in to the original blueprint of Golden Age civilization ordained for that continent, betrayed by black magicians and scientists who were the fallen ones, misusing the sacred alchemy and even some of the steps they had learned that came forth from the retreat of Zadkiel. How great is the misuse of the sacred fire and of science when it is used to destroy the genetic code of life, to manipulate the nucleus of the atom, and when the control even of brain waves at a distance becomes the plot of the arch deceivers of mankind. They have also returned. Therefore, there is a certain matter of urgency in your response to pursue the violet flame and to become alchemists on one of the 7 rays. For you see, they represent the counterpoint to your own divine identity. That identity that has had a superior education and training and even knowledge of science in previous incarnations to this one. Beloved hearts, the fallen Atlanteans were also a part of this cross-breeding of fallen angels with the races of men. Thus, the fallow field for disorienting spirals is always the combination of the seed of light and its subjugation to the animal vibration. This is one of the saddest tales of woe to come to any planetary body. This is the plot of the arch-deceivers. Precious hearts, the lust of the fallen ones has ensnared many souls after the pursuits and pleasures of the flesh. If you could perceive how the extension of these momentums of temptation and intense magnetism comes out of those very force fields of interconnecting auras of the watchers, you would see through those temptations of life that come to you in order to steal that light just before its precipitation in the chemicalization of a God desire. Yes, Atlantis is rising with all of her karma. Thus we greet her with oceans and oceans of violet flame that she must pass through. Happy are ye to receive the word of an archangel. Happy am I to be with you in this celebration of the Christ Mass and the ushering in of a new year. To the words of Lord Zadkiel, I have added some thoughts that you might enhance your life, your planning, your service, and build thee more stately mansions for others to occupy when you shall have vacated them. I seal you with that Maltese cross at the nexus. It is a maximizer and a multiplier of your release of the violet flame. By this, may you know how much I have loved thee. O light of Brahman, shine forth by the splendor of the Word. Light of Brahman, let the sound be the voice I heard. Light of Brahman, ignite will within this heart and soul. Light of Brahman, raise each precious heart to reach the eternal goal. Light of the Atman, descend. O I am that I am, descend now into every cell and atom. Seal the soul in the unique design of cosmic purpose. Sacred fire will, mighty cosmos, ignite in still divine plan, holy purpose, sacred fire. O great central sun magnet, be thou thy manifest presence here. Let the sun of even pressure in the heart of the earth now seal each one in the very origin of light, in the very holy of holies. I call forth the light of God. Expand, expand, expand and intensify, O magnificent heartbeat of God. Be now unto us, be within us, that motivator of God desire, that will to be, that wisdom, that love, O God. Let the Holy Spirit flow. Let the Holy Spirit infire these souls of light to higher purpose, to the vision, to the knower and the known. In the name of the Father, the Mother, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us give together decree number 8. Together. I am light within, without, expand, expand, and forever expand. Field of consciousness within, without, absorb God's light and then command. Light of God forever expand. Fill the world, the land, the air, the sea, and sky, and everywhere. With awareness, for I am there, sharing God in joyous prayer. Beyond the earth and outer space, expand the power of cosmic grace. Our God is there and everywhere, and where I am, O thou art to increase awareness of thy truth, and show me in my I am the holy beauty of the sky. I see thy light of diamond hue, sparkling, shining through and through the pores of self in body large, the macrocosmic universe. I am with thee, O God, I see the light expand as path to thee. The power flows, my being glows, and Christ within without me shows. I am the way to peace and power, thy spirit makes me one this hour. O God, demand and now command thy presence in our holy band of devotees of heaven's grace. Show me, command me to take my place. In freedom's band I'll ever stand, thy victory's power I wait this hour, to feel that flow of power. Blaze right through me, light of God, spiral nebulae, sun of light. Blaze right through me, truth of God, fill my mind with great delight. I am thy grace, manifest here, thy perfect love is shining clear. Command thy selfhood to be mine, expand, expand in heaven's name. Command my soul to be thy flame, expand, expand, O love divine. Won't you be seated? From time to time, I hear someone tell me, decrees don't work. And my answer is, why, of course they don't work. You have to work. You work. Decrees are like God taking a handful of stars and scattering them at random, and they form a molecule of light, and they become a mandala of energy, and then, pursuing God, our thoughts pass over these cosmic notes. We integrate with them, and by devotion, we become the points of light. We absorb the star fire. This is a mantra that comes out of the great causal body of the goddess of light. Why have I chosen to give it? Because my soul this morning is hungry for light. There is a will in my being, a very deep desire to pull upon the cord of God and draw down light. And therefore, in the process of desiring and longing for the light, to accelerate it on behalf of this people, I use this worded formula, which is a mantra from her heart. I have given it slowly with immense intensity, while those of you here who have been decreeing at a different momentum have already gone ahead of me as I have been leading it. I hear in your voices the repetition of words. I want you to hear in my voice the intense desiring of my being to increase light. If I were the goddess of light, I would give this mantra with the same desire to increase light. No matter who we are, if we are Helios and Vesta, we recite the sacred name of God to increase light. Why do we desire to increase light? Because our own measure of light, which we hold up as a candle, tells us that there are others who sit in darkness, and we want to bring more light to illumine that subject. We want people to want more light. How can they want light if they have never known light? Because they sit in darkness. Why do I desire more light? Because I come into the presence of a world and an evolution that does not perceive that it needs more light. And therefore the conclusion of every soul of God, if I have more light, others will see it and see its glory, glorify my Father which is in heaven, and also desire more light. Now this desiring is like a little child pulling on the garment of God, pulling on the robes of its mother. This desire for more of what is the real essence of existence, what is the pure nectar of God's wisdom, having perceived a portion of it in someone, in Kuthumi, in beloved Jesus, in an archangel, we say, wow, I want that light. And that's the whole point of being a Chela. We have to have a perception of some particle, some portion of the whole which we desire, else we would not contain desire. Desire is the fulcrum of attainment. Will is the fulcrum of attainment. If we don't contain it, we're not going to go after more of self. Some of us who have journeyed to the Middle East and Africa and India perceive people in the streets idling away the days, the hours, the years, the embodiments, and our hearts want to reach out and help them to help themselves. We find that people have gone representing our nation to these underdeveloped nations, and they have not known how to instill people with the desire to do for themselves, to improve a standard of living, to be clean, to reduce the mortality rate of infants, etc. How does one inject desire in individuals who, even in the midst of perceiving those who have greater light, greater education, greater opportunity, somehow have not contained within themselves any oomph, any momentum, any will to self-contain that which another has? We have a planet reeling in this state of consciousness as we prepare to enter 1981. We have people who would rather live off someone else's attainment, someone else's money, someone else's charge plate. People who would rather engage in crime to get what they want than to exercise their own heart flame to increase intelligence, increase learning, increase skills, to rise economically, professionally, to acquire more of the abundant life. This is what you might call the malaise of a planetary home. When Gautama Buddha gave the teaching of the Four Noble Truths, he said that all was dukkha, all was suffering, and the problem of suffering was desire, unlawful desire, desire out of alignment with the will of God. People desiring things that are inordinate. As we perceive the problem today, we realize that there is a desirelessness not born of the Buddhic consciousness or the Buddhic light, but there is a desirelessness based on an absence of attainment, a passivity that is a false passivity. The divine feminine within all of us is the passive, receptive mode whereby we are a magnet, a powerful magnet to attract the active potential of God's being down from the mighty I Am Presence, so that we become prime movers for God upon earth. You can feel the vibration of the desire of the Holy Spirit to transfer to you this message, to ignite in you a fire, to make you realize that in varying degrees, many parts of our lives reflect the people in the underdeveloped nations who have no desire to elevate themselves or to improve their lot. So we then are in a society of people who are considered very active, go-getters. Ingenuity of Americans is known around the world. And yet there has been a gradual setting back of desire even within this chosen people, chosen to set an example of light that they might uphold and lift up to the nations, a light of freedom and individuality and creativity. And what is causing the setback? Well, the setback has come through many forms. Too much given too quickly to the life stream, early in years and through adolescence and all of our lives. We live in a land of plenty where if we have not, we can get through social programs. So there is very little pressure for striving. Then there is the drug culture. Then there is the perpetual sound of rock. Then there is the manipulation of our food, and on and on. You know the conditions that have lessened the will in our people. We have had a magnificent dictation from the great divine director on will. Will to become God. Do decrees work? No, they don't work unless they pass through the lever of your heart's will to become what is contained within that decree. The desire to put on the mantle of the goddess of light, and through the nexus of her consciousness to reach into the stars, to reach into the causal bodies of the great white brotherhood. What for? So that you can be more beautiful or more happy or more self-indulgent? No, because there are those in need. There are those who have an absence of will. And even though it seems like the impossible trick, even for an Indian adept, the transfer of will is possible. The igniting and the kindling of a spark that is going to make someone say, I want to be like El Moria. I want his fire. I'm going after it. I'm going to get it. And it's the most important thing in my life. That's what Chilaship is all about. And that's why we decree. And when I see people decreeing just for the recitation of words because they think if they will recite the formula often enough, good things will come to them, I would say go out and plant the fields. Go out and toil, go out and get educated, do anything else, but don't bore me, don't bore God, don't bore yourself sitting and reciting decrees. And that is no excuse not to decree. It is a goad to you to get that desire. Get the lever in motion before you start. There's something about waking up in the morning and wanting God. A new day to find and pursue God. God perhaps in some manifestation of himself. God as opportunity or a new understanding of a project that you're involved with. God in his myriad manifestations, but the desire to increase the rings of the tree of self. The desire to touch out, reach out, expand one's aura a little bit further for the contacting of new levels of infinity, new levels of awareness. What will I discover of God today? An elemental, an angel that chances to pass my way? Why, the universe is teeming with life, and God is in me, and God is a point of contact with every other part of life. Why, if I can increase that point of light, I can have a vast expansion of my own self-awareness. I can increase potential where I am, and therefore be, in some measure, of better service to the planet. Maybe I can impress the people who are bathing in the Ganges today. Maybe my light and my aura will be a giant hook that reaches down and lifts them up and gives them an inspiration to want more of the Atman, more of the I Am presence. I know that my aura fills a planet. Therefore, if I increase light, I will increase light in every cell, in every atom, in every molecule, in every nucleus of expression. There will be more light if I invoke it. The intense desire of the Buddha to alleviate human suffering is why I decree. Why do you decree? Because someone said you should? Because someone said it's good for you? Eat your spinach, drink your milk, do this, do that, give your decrees, and so you sit and run through your decrees, fearing what? Fearing the censure of parents or the authority figure of Kuthumi looking down upon you and saying, well, that's not much of a Chela who hasn't given my decree today? Is it fear of some sort of censure? Fear that somehow you won't be safe and you'll step out and have an accident if you don't say your decrees? Fear is no reason to decree. The desire to be God for God in humanity, that's the reason to decree. When you come to your dynamic decrees with that pure love, the whole universe bows before your heart flame. Because your heart flame is the flame of Gautama. That desire in itself makes you right where you are, congruent with Gautama Buddha. And pretty soon his heart begins to beat within your heart, and you tie into his longing for God, his desiring for God. It multiplies your own. You tie into the extension of Gautama that he has with sentient life everywhere. He is in the heart of the newborn babe. He is in the sheep that are on the hillsides of the world. He is in the flowers and in the skies. When you have some portion of you that is like another portion of God, like Gautama Buddha, then you've got something going for you. You've got a means to enter the cosmic highway and the cosmic stream even before you have great attainment or adeptship. And that one common denominator in which we can share and dip is that common light of devotion. Devotion, which is the desire to pull down more God because someone is going to have an alleviation of suffering this moment because I engage myself in the cosmic gear of cosmic devotion. That's what we're all about. And so when I make my invocation before the altar, and I don't feel this intense desiring, I have this longing to transfer it to you. When you have the desire to be God, there are no more decisions to be made. Your life rolls into action. You fulfill the divine plan. You meet those that you are born to serve. You meet those you've known before. You find the little lambs that must be fed. And you are in a rolling momentum of giving and giving that life, because you're pulling down so much fire that you've just got it dripping from your garments and your chakras and your hands, and all whom you meet feel that uplifting presence. That's the whole point of living. That's why we're here. And so if you've got the doldrums and it's boring and it's routine and you get set upon by more and more and more weight of the karma of the world, and you've got all kinds of temptation that says you don't have to decree because you're in a fairly decent vibration anyway, you find yourself getting lower and lower in momentum, and you don't even know it. You begin to blend with a pea soup of the consciousness of the planet, the astral world, what covers over the city. But when the hour comes that a demand is made upon you and someone is in need, and you realize you cannot meet that need because that thing is not inside of you, that thing that is God, that's God's stuff, the essence, the substance, the fiber, all of a sudden you realize how far you have departed from the light of the altar of invocation in the sanctuary of the Holy Grail. The light that is here is a standard. It's the sign of Sanat Kumara. You know what it is when you participate in conferences, when you come in to say your decrees. You need to measure all things by your relationship to this altar. This altar represents the altar of the people Israel. When I go forth from this altar, I feel like I'm in a space capsule on a thread of contact, and everything I do is a positioning of myself to get back to the altar, because my life is the delivery of the sacred fire of the Ark of the Covenant. It is the delivery of the Word. It is the delivery of energy. And so I measure what is happening, energy levels, opposition to the light, what is going on in SUMI, in the Chilas, hearts, in the teaching centers. The whole world is measured by the intensity of the descent of the light. The more intense the light, the more opposition to the light. The more intense the light, the more difficult to get back to the light, unless you're keeping up your momentum. This light is like the alpha current. You are the omega. The moment we depart from the altar, we're all the omega, polarity of that light. If we lose our polarity, we lose the passive receptacle that we are intended to be of the active thrust of this fire, then we drop out of alignment to it. We kind of drop out of the picture. We're no longer a participant in the great magnet of God's being. And therefore, we cease to accelerate. For all intents and purposes, when you are not in the formation of a magnet with God, you one side and he the other, you cease to be in reality. And that can happen so subtly as you descend into the psychic plane, the astral plane, that if you're not careful, you don't realize when you've passed out of that relationship of reality. So it takes attunement, it takes perception, but above all, it takes desire. If there is something that you want more than God, you've got troubles. I mean it. If you can think of something right now that means more to you than God, you have got a problem, and you better solve that problem by praying to God to intensify desire in you, the desire for Him. And you have to know that He is a tree of life with many fruits, and those fruits are the fulfillment of all other desires that you could have in your life that are lawful under God. Demons of very intense momentum come to instill in you a desire for something else, and suddenly they become the God of your life. You want this or that possession, or the possession of some other person. There are all kinds of desires, and they put us out of alignment of being this magnet with God. All of life is in polarity. Each one of us is a half of a polarity, and the other half is your mighty I Am presence. And so if you don't function out of this dual manifestation, God and the individe itself, God and the soul, you are not truly functioning. You need to think about that. When are you in reality? When are you in unreality? When are you the measure of the real? And when are you not? Now I would like us to give this dynamic decree as though we were pulling on a cord with every word, and we want that word to be a cup of light that charges our being with this mighty light. Let's stand up, let's roll with it, let's determine that we want one thing right now, and it is light, the light of God from the heart of the goddess of light. Together. I am light within, without, expand, expand, and forever expand. Field of consciousness within, without, absorb God's light and then command. Light of God to forever expand. Fill the world, the land, the air, the sea and sky and everywhere with awareness, for I am there, sharing God in joyous prayer beyond the earth in outer space. Expand the power of cosmic grace. Our God is there and everywhere, and where I am, O thou art too. To increase awareness of thy truth and show me in my eye and my holy beauty of the sky. I see thy light of diamond hue, sparkling, shining through and through the pores of self and body large, the macrocosmic universe. I am with thee, O God, I see the light expand this path to thee. The power flows, my being glows, and Christ within without me shows. I am the way, peace and power, thy spirit makes me one this hour. O God, demand and now command thy presence in our holy land. Of devotees of heaven's grace, show me, command me to take my place. In freedom's band counsel, by victory's power I wake this hour to feel that flow of power. Blaze right through me, light of God, spiral nebulae, sons of light. Blaze right through me, truth of God, fill my mind with great delight. I am thy grace, manifest here, thy perfect love is shining clear. Command myself to be mine, expand, expand in heaven's name. Command my soul to be thy flame, expand, expand, O love divine. I am light within, without, expand, expand, and forever expand. Field of consciousness within, without, absorb God's light and then command. Light of God to forever expand. Fill the world, the land, the air, the sea and sky and everywhere with awareness, for I am there, sharing God in joyous prayer beyond the earth and outer space. Expand the power of cosmic grace. Everywhere and where I am, O thou art too. Join this awareness of thy truth. Show me in my eye and my the holy beauty of the sky. I see thy light of diamond hue, sparkling, shining through and through the pores of soul and body, the macrocosmic universe. I am with thee, O God, I see the light expand this path to thee. The power flows, my being glows, and Christ within without me knows. I am the way to reason, thou thy spirit, make me one this hour, O God, and now command thy presence in our holy land. O devotees of heaven's grace, show me, command me to take my place and freedom, stand out, and present my victory's power, I wake this hour to be the love of love. Please, I do be light of God, spiral, nebulae, sons of light. Please, I do be truth of God, fill my mind with great delight. I am thy grace, manifest here, thy perfect love is shining clear. Command myself to be mine, expand, expand in heaven's name. Command myself to be thine, expand, expand, all of divine. The thought form for this decree is a turning galaxy that is turning, and as it turns, it gives you the impression that all of the arms are coming into the center like a vortex, like water going down the sink. It's turning and everything is coming into the center. And the center is your heart chakra. So you visualize a giant sun turning, and as it turns, this light is descending into your being and intensifying and increasing what is the rock. It's the rock of Christ, who is the Word, who is your real self. And that central sun of being blazing in this chest cavity from the point of the threefold flame is your reality. If you can't feel it, if you don't know it, if you don't know the person of God as this rock where you are, go after it. Give the light, give the call, give the dynamic decree, and give love to your Christ self. This awareness of God where I am is an awareness of an enormous vortex of light and of the person of God. It is a burning center that burns in my breast, and in that burning center I experience pain for world suffering. Where there is suffering, it registers on this center of God, because God suffers when a part of God suffers. And when I feel that suffering, I must intensify light to consume it. And so the next thought form that you superimpose upon the vortex, the fire enfolding itself, is millions of scintillating light rays going forth from your heart. And they reach every other heart, and they nourish with life. You see yourself as the focal point of the Divine Mother brooding over her children. Brooding. That brooding presence is the concerned, compassionate presence, watching the little child lest the child stumble and fall, concerned when those energy levels drop and her children go into forms of astral consciousness. In that brooding is the desire to nourish, and we nourish with millions of scintillating threads, points of light going forth. It's like when you used to go to the gas station and fill your bicycle with air or your tires with air, or whatever vehicle you're driving. You have to have a tube, millions of tubes of light going from your sun center, and they are pumping light into those who are getting flat tires, flat chakras. They need a burst of energy. You are glad to supply it because you see, when you nourish your children, how they perform better, how they are more joyous, how they respond more to the vibrations of God, how entities and discarnates have no power over them. So you hope, this great hope of the Archaea hope, you hope that in filling them with light, they themselves will start to prime the pump to will that light themselves, and one day they will become those sun centers. They will perceive the need. They will perceive the progression of energy through the great Guru Sanat Kumara through all of life, and they will want to be sun centers. How do you want to be a sun center? It all starts with feeling the love of God burning in your breast and seeing what it does for people when you let it flow. When you give it away and give it away and give it away, and it's filled again and filled again, and it keeps on increasing, and people are happy because you live. It's a simple reason for being. I want to make everybody happy. That's all. So let's do it. Together. I am light within, without, expand, expanding, forever expand. Feel abundantly within, without, absorb and light in them, God. Light of God, forever expand. Feel the world, the land, the air, the sea, inside and everywhere. With awareness, for I am there. Sharing God and fire, fair beyond the earth and outer space. Expand the power of cosmic grace. Our God is there and everywhere, and where I am, no power to release awareness of light. Show me in my eye and my the holy beauty of the sky. I see the light of God in you, shining down in the earth, and the breath of the body, God, the back of the universe. I am with you, God, I see the light of God, and the power of the being, God, and God within without me. I am the way to be the power of the being, with the power of God, and the back of the breath of the power of the heaven, the heaven, get to know me, man, and the heaven. Amen, and the heaven, and the power, with the power of the being, the power. But I want to be light of God, I want to be light of God, I want to be light of God, I want to be light. I am the being, God, with the power of the God, in there. I want to be man, and God, and everything, I want to be light of God, and light. That's Mark's choo-choo train. He used to talk about the choo-choo train. It was kind of a little joke that got brought up now and then. But that's the lever of desire. The water is flowing, the paddle wheel is turning, the momentum is gaining. The more light you get, the more light you want. So you keep pulling, and you're pulling harder and harder, and the more light you're getting, the more you're giving out to the world, and the very aura of the planet is changing. And so it is God's will that takes over your heart, and God's will in you wants more of God where you are. And the lever of God increases the momentum of this decree, and that is why it gains that rolling momentum, because God's desire is my desire. I have reached out. I have desired God. His desire has infilled me. He takes over, and therefore I can say, I and my Father are one. We are one. Let's try it again. You want to sit down this time? The call of the heart. It is as though your heart were a flute, and the tone was sounding from your heart flame, and also, of course, passing through the throat chakra. It is a funnel of energy that never stops. It goes from the planet and passes through all the universes unknown. It is our sending. It is our aura. We are imprinting upon a universe the name of God, the Sat Nam, the sacred name, with our own particular individualization of that name. All that you are, all of your joy, all of your attainment goes forth on that tone. Every Om is heard individually. Every Om brings joy to the angels and the elementals. Every Om is ascending to every master of the Great White Brotherhood, every unascended master of the Himalayas. It reaches their hearts, passes through them, and there is an acknowledgement, a bowing of the head in mutual oneness, in mutual reverence for the common light. When you say Om, you are one with every part of God who is in the center of the Om. It is the ultimate expression of the love of the Great White Brotherhood. Feel that portion of yourself go out and contact God now in every part of life at the point of the pitch of the Om. In those who have no awareness of God, it will be in the sun behind the sun, in the secret chamber of the heart, where the hidden man of the heart has not even been revealed to the outer mind. Yet you are already one with that potential avatar. Isn't it thrilling? How can we go through a day and not say an Om once, just for that splendid experience? And yet, I'm sure we all forget. Do other decrees and don't say an Om. Vision of galaxies and stars is enhanced by the kind of science fiction movies that are being shown these days. Also, what we see in terms of pictures brought back
from our own solar system, from Jupiter and so forth. It's very easy then to visualize yourself in this funnel of light passing through time and space, as you might have seen a spaceship or a vehicle of some sort going through space. One of the reasons we keep the pictures of the saints and the ascended masters is so that when we decree, we can actually follow the flame from the heart to the person of El Moria, to the person of Saint Germain. We know the locations of their retreats on the physical surface of the earth, corresponding to the etheric plane. And so we can see ourselves passing through space, passing over familiar territory or through it, and going to the very point where we can visualize the Master in his retreat, beloved Jesus, beloved Mother Mary, or the archangels. It is important to project love through the Om, with the heart fire burning in love for that point we're going to contact. With a vision of it, you can make instantaneous contact with Helios and Vesta. Let's all visualize the physical sun. Let's visualize what we know of the position of our planet, 93 million miles supposedly from the sun. Let's visualize ourselves passing there by the tone, by the sound that is actually flowing through us. Where did the Om begin? You hear the sound when you begin to sound the sound. But the Om came from way back here. It's passing through your heart. It's moving on. You're simply the instrument of the universal tone that is being intoned by Elohim, worlds without end. As soon as we say it, it's like we've caught the trolley car and we're moving on with it. So let's go to the sun now. Most of us have had the experience of throwing a ball since we were little children. You have to put thrust behind a decree. When you say the Om, hurl it right into the center of the physical sun. But you are also in this sphere of fire, you're also in the Om. So it's a means of visualizing the projection of one's selfhood, but not all. We journey to the sun by an extension of self. We want to remain anchored in the earth because we want to be the passive receivers of the active light of Helios and Vesta. So we plant ourselves feet firmly on Terra, but in our sending of the Om, a portion of ourself goes there, and that portion is our love. But our whole being makes the journey. Our whole consciousness enters the sun and sees the temples of the sun, the etheric cities of the sun, the entire throne room of Helios and Vesta, and myriad life waves evolving there. All of that we experience simultaneously with our firm attention on being about our Father's business on earth, which is first and foremost being an electrode for light. So let's have this very definite visualization together now. we have made contact with Helios and Vesta. We are at the gates. They know we're knocking. We are about to be received. And that happened in this giving of the Om through the collective Christ consciousness of all of us. Some have greater, some have lesser ability to visualize, to project, to travel. Some have less light, less horsepower, less fuel, just by absence of momentum. But the whole point of community is the motto of the greater assisting the lesser. We are not just any group of chelas with any guru. We acknowledge Sanat Kumara as our guru. We are a part of the Great White Brotherhood. The Ascended Masters have an extraordinary commitment to their chelas. And therefore, our journeying by the simple obedience to the giving of the Om is because of our sponsorship and overshadowing by Ascended Masters and angelic beings. So there is a chain of hierarchy. And this, which seems most simple as we gather together in the midst of the Holy Spirit, is not so simple when you are alone in the lower vibrations of the world, in places contaminated by cross currents of other energies. And so it gives you a supreme sense when you are in the sanctuary, when we are attuned, of the vast potential of community to work change in any direction according to free will. A simple experiment like this is worth all of the proof in those moments when we are assailed by doubt concerning the science of the Word. I would like you to know that when I hear someone say, decrees don't work, and I say, of course they don't, I'm speaking almost with tongue-in-cheek and a bit facetiously, because you need to understand that the mantra itself does work. And something is happening even if you are hardly engaging any will when you recite a decree. To recite a decree is better than not to recite a decree, even if you don't bring to it at first the best vibration. It contains the word of the Ascended Masters. It contains the light of your I Am Presence. And if you determine that you are going to get a momentum, that you are going to improve your vibration by beginning with that momentum and that mantra and letting it do its perfect work, it will. The mantra is the power of the sacred name of God. Whenever the name I Am is pronounced, it does increase light. So what you get out of the decree is what you put into it. And some people get out of it the minimum because they think the words are doing the work solely. But it's the engaging of the individuality that counts. You look at all the pictures of the Ascended Masters, you look at all the saints that have ever lived. Have you ever thought about the fact